and welcome to my YouTube channel, our YouTube channel, where I talk nonsense about a lot of things that are history related, tattoo related, nerdy, whatever the fuck, whatever comes to mind. We're here today because a problem has been identified to me, which I've ranted about before, so I'm going to try to solve that problem. Now the problem starts with me pointing fingers at people who don't know how the fuck to tattoo, who buy shitty tattoo equipment off Amazon and then they start stabbing their friends. And I go, don't fucking do that, it's a terrible plan. And someone said, well, you can't fucking stop me. And others said, well, how are you going to stop these people from doing whatever the fuck they want? And that's true, essentially. I can't really do shit about that. People will do whatever the fuck they want. I've done whatever the fuck I want throughout my career, so why should they stop? And I came to the realization that instead of being a grumpy old bastard who thinks that people should stop doing something that they might enjoy or that might eventually, when they're done hurting people's skin, might lead them to a good career, instead of being grumpy about it and saying no, I should just encourage them and teach them shit. Because if I can teach you how to do things better, then haha, there'll be less shitty tattoos out there, less people with hurty skin, with cancerous shitty colors in them, made in some copyware factory in China, and so on. It'll just be a better world. Small steps, but better world. Caffeinate. It's a bit of a journey that we're going on here, because I'm going to talk about the history of tattooing and tattoo machines a bit, and then how to improve what you do. And I'm not gonna sit down and show you how to do a line and shit like that yet. We'll get there. It's becoming an online apprenticeship for 1,000 people. What I am going to do is talk about choosing to do things right from the beginning, because there are reasons behind all madness, and there's some investments to be made and stuff like that. We shall probably begin in the Stone Age. Somewhere on this planet, someone had a cut. They scraped on a stone or got poked by a pointy stick, and then they took what they knew made things clean and they rubbed it into said wound, mainly ashes. And that wound, that scar that was left, was dark and thereby tattooed. And thus tattooing happened somewhere on this round planet. All the offense to all you flat earthers out there, it is a round fucking planet. It's spherical. Fuck off. This happened in many places on the globe. It's not an isolated incident. We can't pretend that someone came up with tattooing in one place and it didn't happen in many other places. It's like harnessing fire, inventing the wheel. It doesn't have to be a single location on the planet that this happens. Anyways, someone came up with it and then someone decided to improve it. And over time, tattooing became a functional thing where you didn't have to carve people's skin. Actual poking with a needle was invented, so things became a little less brutal, a little less scarificated, and so on. Whatever the fuck, designs were done. There is examples from South America, there's designs from the Siberian plains, the Pachuriks. There's Utsi, there's Egyptian tattoos, there's Polynesian tattoos. There is Japanese indigenous tattooing that's also quite old. Somewhere along the line, it leads to machinery, which is what we're going to talk a little bit about now. Some genius came up with a doorbell, which is essentially what this is. These little fuckers that make this go up and down. Really simple. Well, that wasn't what it was intended to do. It rang a bell originally by my English fails me, exchange in current, basically. It makes it go up and down really fast. Originally it was a little hammer that ran between two bells and made tarring. That makes a lot of noise. In this case, it also makes a fair bit of noise, but it makes the needle go up and down. That's a simple one. The rest of these run on rotation engines, which is basically that this little fucker spins around. Like this. Really simple. They're all made on the same principle. This one, you can see, actually goes in a little circle, whereas this one, which is known as a slider, goes up and down. Same principle though, it's a rotation engine. Direct somewhat can be hard hitting. And it ends up with this fucking thing. We'll talk about that in a moment. Now these fantastic different machines comes in all iterations that you could possibly want. Sizes too and weird colours. My focus about these machines is the quality of what they can do and what I want to do with them. See, a machine like this, which is like, it's what everyone perceives like, this is an old school tattoo machine, this is what you hear when you walk past a tattoo shop, that loud, angry wasp in a jar kind of sound. They're actually, these came after rotary engines, but fuck it. This is old school tattooing. A lot of people still use these because they fucking work. You can do all sorts of magic stuff with them. I personally have this because it makes really beautiful soft shading. It sounds like evil death machinery, but it makes really nice soft graded shading. This is a Flying Irons machine. I think it's Mike from Flying Irons that made this in the USA. It's a lovely, lovely machine. It's lovely because I know how to calibrate it and make it work. It's the same with this, and this, and this. Well, this doesn't actually work anymore. Not so much this one, I haven't figured this one thing out. And it's nothing to do with what this is. Now, it might just be me who's a ranty old bastard, but about 10 years ago, cartridge tattoo machines came along, and nothing's been the same ever since. Because cartridge machines make life fucking easy. I should get a cartridge. Are you following?
Just why not?
Oh.
Matt might say something stupid that I can put in the video.
Say something cool. Testicles. The second part of what you say is familiar. Normally this shit is done wearing gloves and all sorts of nonsense, but I'm not going to be tattooing with this, so who gives a shit? Now, this is a cartridge. Let's get back to that in a second. This here is a tube. It's a steel, hollow tube with a grip on it, mounted. This is cork, which is nice. This is a nice brand that is called Black Claw. They make the machine a little bit louder, but they are nice. This is a tattoo needle. This is a 3-liner. I'm going to shift over to the blackboard in a moment and I'll talk about that. But the reason I really like this, these two things combined with, let's say this, is because I can set it up so it runs really tight, really smooth and really fucking precise, which has two things in effect. One, my work is tight and nice and beautiful and clean, and two, it hurts my client less. Now the second part is a factor that not many tattoo artists either have to care about or want to care about. But because I work in the way that I do with Mr. Bone, who we just saw say testicles upstairs, over so many days, we want this shit to fucking work and we want people to hurt as little as possible. So I use methods where I harm my client as little as possible, and knowing my shit is a big part of it. Teaching you to do this shit means that your client will be hurt less, which, you know, in turn makes me happy. Now let's get to these real quickly. This is a cartridge needle. Cartridge needles are really easy to use. I don't have to think to do anything. I just plug it in and twist it, and then I have a machine that will run. Of course you need to wrap the whole thing in plastic and all that, but essentially it now works and I can adjust the length and stroke of the needle. Possibly even turn it on. Wait, there's still battery on this fucking thing. Daft. I'll explain why it's daft. See, this, don't know how close you want to get, has a needle mounted to a piece of plastic and a membrane that keeps the ink out of the machinery, and it goes in and out when you're tattooing real fucking fast, like psychotically fast. You would not believe it. Now there's not much give from the tip of the needle and into the machine, so it's pretty hard hitting, and there's no space for me to modify how this fucking thing runs, whereas with this machinery I can adjust the tension as to how the needle rests in the tube, and thereby how much vibration there is side to side and shit like that when I'm tattooing. Now I shall explain. I need the black board for this, so The principle behind tattooing with a machine is very much the same. You have a needle, it runs through a tube, it stabs people. So you've got this fucking thing, tube, and a needle going through it. At the end of said needle, there's a number of needles soldered on. They can be in different configurations. There's different ways of doing it. Let's just say we have a liner needle. Liner needles, let's say it's 9 needles. So you have 9 needles soldered on, and they're soldered in such a way that they aim towards one point to make a tight tip, so that this here is what goes into the skin. This is soldered onto the bar. Fucking simple, really. Now, we want this thing to move as little as possible sideways and upwards. Like, we want it to go in and out of this, or in and out of this, but we don't want it to be flipping around inside the tube. So there's 3 types of tubes. This here, I can't even, this is just a round one. So the round tubes, needle, diamond tube, needle, and a half round, half diamond tube. People like different things. There's tons of different needle configurations, different tubes, different all sorts of things. I prefer to use a diamond, and I use machinery with an elastic band, because let's say I have a liner with X amount of needles in it. There will always be air around the needle, especially with these fucking things, and it'll thereby have space to flip around. And all of that movement means more tiny neuro damage, more pain to the client. But if I can control that, we're getting somewhere. Now the thing that I can do with this kind of needle is that I can tie it down with a little bit of elastic band, so that instead of having the needle in here in the middle of my diamond shape, I can move it down here. So it's nestled in that V shape. And it'll stay there as I'm working, because the way that I move my needle forwards, maybe to do backwards, I managed to keep it firmly pressed into that little corner of the universe where it will make less laceration to my client's skin, less pain as well. So that is wonderful. And that is something I cannot obtain with these fucking things. Also, there tends to be more mistakes and errors with these. They tend to break easier in my experience. I use these for years, by the way. I use them from a brand called Cheyenne, both their needles and their machines. The machines will break, needles will break. Can't fix the machines, can't fix the fucking needles. So I'm just tired and done with it. I always encourage people to use a slightly more old school setup. Because it works. So, just gonna set this funny thing up. A lot of people, a lot of tattooists has this misconception that tattooing happens by pressing ink into the skin, that the needle will press the ink in. That's not how it actually works. What happens is that the needle punctures the hole, and then the vacuum in the hole, when the needle goes out, sucks the ink in. Just knowing that is a very basic thing, but a lot of tattoo artists are uninformed about this, because why the fuck would they know? Why would they care? The machine does the work for them, right? Know your technicalities. Now, I have just fiddled about with this. And as you can see here, I'm going to show this to Adam. I now have an elastic band squeezed around this needle, meaning down here on the other end, the needle is firmly pressed into the V shape, and whenever it goes in and out, that's where it fucking stays. And as I tattoo, I work in a forwards moving motion across the skin at an angle. It will stay squeezed into that. If I move backwards though, it has lots of space to flip up and move about into all of this air up above it, which I don't want. I tattoo like this, all like this, always with the machine moving forwards. Either away from me or towards me, that doesn't really matter. And by doing that, I cause less harm to my poor clients. I hurt them enough as it is. So, when you choose how you want to work, I know that this is a super easy solution, super easy answer. I am personally not a big fan of these weird bedroom toys. I know they seem convenient, they're easy to charge, they're easy to work with. They also break easily. The needles are not that good. The needles are more expensive, and you're not really in control of the situation. And with most creative things, you actually want to be in control of what the fuck you're doing. The more control you have, the more precise you can be, the more you can obtain the product that you want to deliver. Now on that note, I want to talk about the 0.5%, which is a beautiful philosophy. It's very much from Japanese craftsmanship. You can always be a little bit better. And that's not just you. I mean, you can always improve your own skill set, but you can also just choose slightly better materials, find a better ink, get better elastic bands. It took me months to shop for these elastic bands. They are platinum grade rubber, more pure rubber, and therefore they have more longevity than normal elastic bands, and that means they don't go lax as I'm working and they don't snap so often. Meaning, I have to stop less, which also means less pain for my client, and that's just a fucking elastic band. It's a tiny thing, but it actually makes a difference to my client. The client doesn't necessarily know. Why the fuck would they? It's none of their business really, and it's not something I sit and talk to them about while I'm working. But overall, that 0.5% improvement adds up. So when it all racks up, I might be, 15-20% better at my craft because I've chosen the right things to work with. It's like painters working with the right paintbrush, or a stonemason working with the right chisel, or a carpenter working with the right sharp bloody edge on the right sharp bloody tool. You just get better at what you do if you have the right equipment. Now I know there's a price to pay for the right equipment. There is, no doubt. But if you learn to maintain your equipment and learn to calibrate it yourself, and you can find guides on how to do this online, that's not the end of the fucking world, then you can make it very, very far. And if you learn to recognize, to start with, if your needle is bent, by taking the tip of it and a magnifying glass and looking at it to see if it's bent or has a fish hook. Just that, it's a tiny thing, but fuck me, it makes a big difference. So care about what you work with and why you work with it. Figure out how to work really well with it. And if you're new to this and you're tempted to buy some shit off Amazon or a Chinese knockoff website or whatever the hell, that's alright. Use it for practicing on grapefruits, fuck the oranges, and fuck that fake skin thing. Just buy some grapefruits. Grapefruits fucking work. They're cheap and you can eat them afterwards. Oh, and with inks, don't buy knockoff inks. They are full of terrifying things. There was a whole thing done by a Swedish research company, a lab. They tested it, they found so much terrifying shit in knockoff colors and like stuff off Amazon and eBay and stuff like that. Don't go there. Buy from the right brands, buy from the right companies that produce things the right way. There are official resellers and stuff like that out there. Stick to them. Don't go for the knockoff bullshit. You will give people skin cancer. Unlike normal tattoos, that actually protects against cancer if it's black ink. So that's a fun fact. I'm a bit of a stickler for details and for doing things the right way and for choosing things that I really, really like. I have different machines with different purposes. Most of these I don't actually use. I bought this to try it out. Used it once, hate it. These are the machines I use. This is from Sergei Schlickl. He makes amazing machines. I have different colored ones because my brain likes that if I work with an orange color, that my machine is orange. I have a teal one too, and a black, don't have a black one. Wait, I do have a black one at home. A red one and a green one because my brain needed that. These are the machines I use every day, my Wayne Taylor machines. Wayne Taylor is a guy here in England that makes machines, and they're surprisingly cheap considering how amazing they are. I have two of them, I wish I had more. It is the most impactful tiny rotary machines I've ever worked with. Fantastic. And this is a good old-fashioned coil machine from Mike from Flying Irons. Don't know if that's still the name. I've had this for years. It fucking works. Soft shading, also solid black on some people's skin. Now that depends on what type of skin they have, but I love working with this machine for anything that's like feathering and stuff like that. Beautiful. These fucking things can fuck off. They suck. fuck cartridges. It should be mentioned, if your tattoo artist works with any of these other machines, or uses this kind of machine, or uses cartridges, or whatever the fuck, it's up to them, and it doesn't mean that the tattoos are bad. It doesn't mean that they are a bad person. It's just a different thing. I'm just quite fanatic about what I do. I'm not trying to poke fun. Dear Matt upstairs, it works with cartridge needles, and it works for him, and that's cool. I'm cool with it. I'm just encouraging you to choose the best path for yourself. And I know what works best for me, and I know why, and that's what I'm trying to explain in this video. So, but yeah, follow your own heart and all that shit. Let's go full circle, because it's a bit fun. Tattooing started out with people cutting the skin and putting ink in it, or having cuts accidentally and then putting ink in it, and then bronze needles most likely is what turned up first as purpose-built needles for tattooing. Nowadays, it's very popular to get some chopsticks and some of these, take these to the chopstick and take some ink and sit at parties and do stick and poke tattoos, which is called stick and poke, and do naive, shitty little smileys. That is 100% a terrible fucking idea. I have yet to see anyone have one of those tattoos that they wanted to keep. I've covered up a lot of them. They suck. If you're drunk, don't get tattooed. If you're drunk, don't tattoo. If you think this is a good idea, I will go back to my initial statements from earlier videos and tell you to go fuck yourself. That being said, hand poking works if you're doing it right. Now, there's a lot of hand pokers out there who do really good, beautiful hand poke work. There's a lot of debate about why, and does it hurt more, does it hurt less? I stick to my same principles as with tattooing. If you about what you do, it doesn't hurt that much. You do have to poke more times to get the same effect, and it's a bit slower and all these things, but fuck it. My only real beef with hand poking is that there are a few artists out there who pretend that it is a historically correct Viking age thing to hand poke, and we don't know about that. I've said this many times, we don't know if the Vikings were tattooed, and if they were tattooed, we don't know how they tattooed. They could have been tattooing each other with a very sharp chisel and a little hammer, for all the fuck we know. Similar methods exist around the world, so don't laugh. So pretending that sitting with a needle and poking is historical correctness, that is tricking people a little bit. I like the concept of it because it is a very calm way of getting tattooed. It's a very calm way of tattooing. There's a groundedness to it, and there's a connection typically to the tattooist, between tattooist and client, which is very lovely. And I like that. So I'm not saying I'm against hand poke tattoos, I'm just against those few people out there who think that it's fair to bullshit their clients, and for example also forget to tell them how fucking long it takes to hand poke things. That about sums it up. I think that went like full circle back to the original how to poke people. For the next episode I'll take a piece of flint and cut my skin and rub some ink into it, and we shall see if it becomes a tattoo. No. Well, maybe. Should we try that? Oh, fuck it. Seems like a terrible plan. Maybe John will volunteer.
Set a like goal. We've got 1 million likes.
No. That about sums it up for today. I hope you feel that you've been educated a little bit. I know that there will be a few people out there who's triggered. You're welcome to comment and ask questions or debate below. Just keep it sober, no mud throwing. Like, comment, press the bell, all those things. And if you want to support what we do, just go to northernblack.shop, spend some money, buy some good books full of artwork and stuff like that you can use, or buy a t-shirt. It's appreciated. It pays the bills and helps fund Adam, who's been standing around with a camera the whole time, looking like a weird wax mannequin. That's it. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, fuck off.